This thing is going to take, it's taken long enough already.
Yeah.
Might have to handle this the way I was talking about, because this is going to, we're going to be well into an hour before we're even halfway done here on the questions.
Yeah.
We might not even do all these questions.
There's 2 parts.
You know something? There was some dead air there, so while I'm reading, I'm going to talk and make some noise. All right, here's the next one. Describe life in America 10 years from now if no one ever did any kind of audits. You want to tackle that?
Sure.
All right. Because that's a very iffy question. That's like
right.
I'm hypothesizing on what I think might happen in the future. But I think there's going to be some truth in there, and it's real possibilities. So go ahead.
Okay. Luckily we do have a format to where we can get our word out there in today's age with social media. Things like YouTube, Facebook, and things like that. You can actually get word out. You can get news out. There's no longer a monopoly on news. Now, if we did not use those as platforms to report on things, well, there's some bad things that can happen. That's why this is a very good forum that needs to be used. Because if that's not being used, you run into things, and I think we've talked about this before, where it's happened before in America. One good example is the Battle of Athens, Athens, Tennessee. Look at your history. I would recommend that everyone look at history after World War II. We don't need that type of violence in this country. Battle of Athens was a very violent conflict, and it was between the local war veterans. It was against the government of Athens, and it was basically an all-out war. These citizens fought. They killed there was one guy there. I think what set it off was there was a man there, and this was after World War II. And this was an old black man that wanted to vote, and they wouldn't let him, and they killed him. And that's kind of what set it off. And it was a very corrupt government. People would go in this city, get violated, no consequences. I mean, it was a very, very intense time. They basically dynamited the jail. I don't want to go into details and all, but it was conflict. It was war. The citizens won out. The corruption was exposed. But in today's time, it's very important that we expose these things through mass viewership. If they had had mass viewership back then,
might be able to avoid the violence.
That violence would have been avoided. That's why I'm somewhat optimistic about in today's day and age, because we have these types of formats where we can get it out there. Because America is a unique place. Because if we don't like something, we can change it. It's not that hard for us to change it. We just have to be willing and quit. That is one thing though that is worrying me about America is we're so dead set and divided. With the left-right thing, and it seems to be on the left-right thing. It's the most radical part of that element, and we need to actually look at and reason and use those types of things. I don't want to get too political here, but with that, setting all that aside, as long as we respect rights, put rights at the forefront of everything, we're going to be okay, because that's really the foundation of this whole country is the respect, having respect for rights and allowing people to exercise their rights,
Yeah, I'll add in this. One of the things about the people of this country, and I think it's still true to a large extent, is we are fairly gentle people until pushed too hard. And if we can get the information out there to enough people, changes can be made without violence. Because I personally know that there's a lot of people ready, or at least talking about, they're ready to just, start a revolution because they're sick and tired of the corruption and the the stripping of our rights slowly, you know, and you know the people I'm talking about. You've heard them, you know. You maybe know some other ones, and you know, but I can see it leading to that if they keep going. Because when you let them get away with it, they're going to more and more and more, and sooner or later, the American people will say no. All right, and if you don't do that this way, then the only thing left is by violence, and we don't want that.
No.
Now, any one of the ones I've talked to that do auditing wants the violence, and they all agree that this is how we do it without violence. We get these videos out, we show people, not just tell them, we show them. And then when we show them, they'll start to wake up. And we've seen that.
And we got evidence to back everything up. You look at all of us that has had charges against us, how many actually stand up? Yeah. That should say something right there. That should tell you everything you need to know. Do you read?
Here's another thing. There's police out there that do the same thing over and over and over again, and the charges get dropped over and again, and they still tell you that I'm going to charge you with the same thing again next time you show up.
Yeah,
they do that to Jack all the time.
Right? With Jack.
He's got what, 5 or 6, the same damn thing.
Yeah,
cussing when they know it's not against the law. They know it's completely legal, but they still give him a ticket, and it gets dismissed, and they do it just to be assholes. And it's the same cop or the same 2 or 3 little group of cops that are doing it. So they all know exactly how many times it's been done. But anyway, let's move on. So in 10 years from now, if we don't make a difference here, it's going to be worse.
And we have, and we have made differences in places. I know. You look at the cameraman out in California. You know, I've done follow-ups, and I know Lockheed Martin was one of them. They changed their whole attitude. I was never approached the second time. So there are changes, and you can see it. And it's good to expose that as well when they go on the right track, you know.
Yeah, and we reported on that they dropped that law. So, and I try to go back and I've done a couple, go back and check up on things and see how they're doing. And I've reported on it.
Okay.
And I think most of us try to do a certain amount of that. Let's see here. If law enforcement agencies were required to upgrade their officers' training, what changes would you recommend?
I think really pay attention to the Constitution, know your case law, quit making everything about memorizing everything. I mean, now I can't say this is everywhere, but from what I have noticed, they can cite traffic laws backwards, up and down, left and right. How do you not know about filming in public? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we all know the reason, because a lot of these entities are revenue driven.
Yeah, and how do you not know about here in Texas 3802, you know?
Right.
You deal with it every day, over and over and over again. Anyway.
You know, and I think a lot of times it's because of revenue. So that would be the biggest thing. But really, you can change training all you want to and do something different, and that I am all for that. Don't get me wrong. But what really has to change, in my opinion, is you need an independent review board when it comes to a lot of these, you know, departments.
And not ex-police officers, retired police officers on it.
No, right.
Which a lot of places do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest a change. One would be you cannot lie.
Oh, that'll never go through.
But if
that ain't gonna happen.
If somebody you're dealing with out on the street asks you what the law is, you have to tell them the truth.
Yeah. Now,
in some countries, that is a requirement for the police officers to give them a correct answer. And if they don't know, they have to go check and find out what that correct answer is.
Now that's
they're in trouble.
Now I can totally agree with that. Yeah.
And that's what I meant by the truth, because we know cops are going to make mistakes and they're going to lie.
Yeah.
About it to try to cover it up.
Well, interrogations and stuff, and I can understand that to a certain extent. If you're interrogating, if there's a murder suspect or whatever, and you're with someone, and hey, your buddy's been spilling the beans and blah, 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 blah. Maybe he hadn't.
And I don't even agree with that.
Yeah.
Because what happens if those people are innocent?
That's
and
true.
What happens when you scare the hell out of somebody? Because I know I've got a buddy that I grew up with, and this happened many years ago. He is a little slow, but he's a damn good person. All right. And they had him so scared he admitted to doing shit that he didn't do.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. That happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's the type of person, if you go in there and you lie to him and say, well, so-and-so over here and so-and-so over there said they saw you do it, he's going to be so scared and so intense and so he's just going to get to the point where I'm tired of this, whatever, just to stop it. I'll tell you whatever you want, and that's what happened to him.
Oh, okay.
All right. And there's people out there like that. They don't know how to deal with that stress, and they just want it over with, and they'll make mistakes in what they say, or they'll just tell them whatever they want to hear to stop it.
Yeah, that is a problem, and that's why I think there needs to be an independent review board, because how many times have we seen the innocent kid in high school, that may have not attention deficit, but what's the word I'm looking for? Autism or something like that. And they'll trick him and get him to sell marijuana to somebody. I think there was a case in California like that. Then you got the case of one guy who's a little slow mentally. That was the go-to guy. You want a citation, go to him, get him for trespassing at work, and get away with it. That was in South Florida, outside Miami. There was a place doing that. So we see this. We see people being taken advantage of over and over.
Yeah.
It really makes me sick, because I have a friend of mine whose son has autism, and I've seen people do that. You got the one kid that had Down syndrome that got tackled in California. Cops beat him, and we see that. You had Kelly Thomas, who was schizophrenic, they killed him.
Well, to me, a police officer lying, even in an interrogation type thing, means he is making a judgment that this person he's got is guilty. So he's going to lie to him and try to get information out of him. You don't get to be the judge. You don't get to be the jury, and you don't get to be the executioner. You are there to try to find the facts in a lawful, honest way, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And if you can't find it that way, then even if that person is guilty, you got to let them go, because it's better to have a guilty person let go than it is to an innocent person put in jail. Or go through the courts and pay all kinds of fines and ruin their life and lose their home and their car and whatever else might be entailed. Like, what's going on in California with Hightower, and keeping them in jail for that long. You'd lose your job.
Yeah, Oregon, right?
Yeah, Oregon. And I think they did let him out, and they didn't keep him in there. But, you spend a week in jail, a lot of places will fire you, even though you're not guilty of anything.
Right.
Yeah. Which then you can take him to court over that, because that would be, totally stupid. But how many people are going to take him to court over that? Because then if you're out of a job, so how do you have the money to get a lawyer? And how many lawyers take your case for free? Not many.
So the system is stacked against the citizen. It really is.
It is. Oh, we've had many talks about that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Let's see, where were we? Okay, we're on number 10 now. And we got 21 of them, folks.
Oh, man.
God, do we go any further? Do we call that enough? Because it's probably close to an hour now.
I'm good. I'll keep going.
Right. Well, I think maybe what we can do, because this is going to be a thing in progress to learning, an evolutionary thing, because I'm going to interview some of the other guys too, and ladies and gentlemen. And I think maybe to do them all justice, it's going to end up being, an hour or so. So I could put up part 1 on,
maybe have 4 parts,
and then have 2 parts on PNP News, and then tell them, okay, you just watch part 1. Now, if you want to watch the rest of this, go over and watch part 2. It takes over where part 1 leaves on. And if they come across it on PNP News in depth, they'll see part 1 and part 2 together there. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'll end up doing. because I want to do these things justice, but it's I don't really know how to do justice until you do them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Advice to auditor ahead of the time. Let's see.
Number 10.
Yeah. In the next year or two, what would be the best outcome to all audits being done today?
The best outcome as far as
in the next year or two, what would be the best outcome to all audits being done today?
To me, the best outcome as far as the law goes would be a Supreme Court ruling saying that they're legal. You know, then you could really be free. You know, even if they were bring it on, violate me, and people would have more confidence. Sometimes I wonder why.
Like Turner versus Driver basically says this, hey, they got the right to be out there doing that.
But a step under that would be for all the even number federal circuits to make a ruling. You know, that would be my wish. Second, but the biggest and foremost thing, in my opinion, would be a Supreme Court ruling that specifically describe technology as far as cameras, phones, whatever the case.
Yeah, specifically say if somebody's out in public with a camera and they're videoing the federal building or the police, they can't interfere with you. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, something to that extent that would help out a whole lot.
Well, California, they have something like that.
Right.
And they still don't give a shit.
I know. Oh, I'm not saying the violations would stop, but I'm just saying you'd have more standing. You'd have, you know, more to back, more protections for the citizen, you know.
And it'd be easier to be able to take that cop to court outside of his immunity.
Exactly.
Well, I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't know that law. Oh, well, since you're a cop, it's okay. But if you're just not a cop, then that's no excuse. You have to know every damn law if you're a citizen. But if you're a cop, you don't have to know any of them.
And, you know, I'm a fair guy, man. What do I do, Steve? You know exactly what I do. I hand it to them.
Yeah.
I'm like Jeff. I hand it to them. Here you go. They don't want to read it half the time. I did have a security guard actually read it and just walk away.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good one. But most of the time, even they care less. That's been my experience. So when I do hand it to them, it doesn't seem to affect it. I don't, you know.
Well,
I will continue doing it.
One of these days, they're going to regret that kind of action because when we take them to court, that's going to go against them.
But, yeah.
You said you didn't know the law, but this man just handed it to you and explained to you what it was, and you refused it.
Yeah.
Guilty.
That's what I do everywhere I go. Here you go.
See, I've never pulled it out yet, but then I haven't really had much need to.
But I understand people not doing it. You know, I may not do it. It's just a personal choice of mine. But to be honest with you, I don't feel I should have to do that.
I think later on, for reasons that you probably already understand, that might come to the point where towards the end of it, when an officer's already pushed too hard, that's when you give it to them. You know, because you know it's gone south, and you're protecting yourself with that information before he steps over that line.
Right. Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Some law enforcement officers accuse you of wanting to provoke them. What do you say about that?
In my experience, if there's any provoking going on, it ain't from me.
That's right.
I don't approach them. In fact, that's the rule of mine. I refuse to interfere with what they're doing. I refuse to get in their personal space. I refuse to put a camera to their face. They walk to my camera. They put their face in my camera.
That's right.
How many times have we seen this? So
over and over.
It's
get your camera out of my face. Well, don't put your face on my camera.
Exactly. You know, it speaks for itself. Watch these videos over and over. You will see that every time. The people I deal with, the people I associate with, we're always approached, you know, and that speaks for itself.
The one that keeps sticking in my mind is Philip in Las Vegas.
Exactly. I did a video describing that. Yes.
Yeah. All right. I'll tell you what. All right. On to the next one. What would the best case scenario look like for an audit, in your opinion?
In my opinion, what happened to me this weekend? No interaction. But if there is interaction, as long as they tell me they can ask all the questions they want, I have no problem with that. Ask all the questions you want. I'd rather you not give me advice. But if that's, you can give me advice if you want, but don't demand I ID myself for legal activity.
And don't give me that line in this day and age.
This day and age, I don't want to hear that. I'd rather you not. If you want to say it, that's up to the police. That's up to you as a cop. But
yeah, if you want to sound stupid, go right ahead.
Yeah, just don't violate my rights. I have no problem. You have every right to be there, just like I do in the public space. Don't get in my personal space. Don't say I'm putting the camera in your face when you're putting your face in my camera.
Yeah.
But really, just no interaction. That's what I had this weekend. Now, I will say this: where I went this weekend, another guy. There's a local guy down there that's done some filming, so maybe that had something to do with it. But Montgomery's a shining example. Within the city limits of Montgomery, I've had no interaction whatsoever. I think we've talked about this before. It's probably a reason for that. This is a home of civil rights. Yeah. They probably don't want to mess with people's civil rights and liberties. May have something to do with it. But to me, no interaction is the best case scenario.
Yeah, me too. I would agree. Best case scenario is no interaction. If they get a call, they drive by and they see you just man with the camera on public property and wave and move on. Right. And if they do come to you, it's like, to me, I'm going to probably tell them, look, I know that you got a call. I don't want to talk to you. I just want, just please leave me alone. And if they stay okay, that would be fine. But further than that, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to answer their questions. I'm not really there. I want them to be educated, but I want them to already be educated enough to know that if I say I don't want to talk to you and I'm not breaking any laws, then you need to turn around and say, well, have a good day and leave.
And, people can say all they want to. Well, if you never get any interactions, then what are you going to do? That destroys your content. You don't have no. There's a lot of exactly. There's a lot of other things I could be doing.
You think this pays the bills, people?
But I tell you what, look at the videos that keep coming out daily. I mean, there's too many to count. They're coming out every day, a bunch of them.
And I want people to, with that in mind, keep in mind there's more of us out there doing it now. Right. Even with the more numbers of videos that these police officers can see and hear about, they still do it. And a lot of them have seen and heard about these videos. Yeah. And they still do it because they know nobody's going to hold them accountable. But you got a bad police officer that's there for more than a couple of days, then that means your police chief is corrupt, the DA is corrupt, because they don't exist without those two.
Yep. The best example, though, if I have to put it all in a nutshell, if there is an interaction, the best example I can think of is at the time was a Staff Sergeant Guthrie. If anybody wants to look that up, that is on Honor Your Oath. Just go on YouTube, search SSGT Guthrie. That's probably the best interaction. That's with Jeff from Honor Your Oath. The best interaction I've ever seen. He has since passed away. He was a lieutenant. He got promoted, became a lieutenant. So the best interaction I've ever seen, ever. I don't think there is a better one.
The one that sticks in my mind, I know which one, and this is a little bit different because this is actually more of a, not a First Amendment. It's kind of a mixture. It's where one of the, and I believe it was in California, but don't hold me to that because I don't remember for sure, but he's carrying a case, all right? Mm-hmm. And it's actually his tripod, all right? And when he's carrying it in his hand and he's walking down the street and the police officer comes up, and this police officer is very good. he's forceful, but not too forceful. Very careful about his words, and very careful about how far he pushes and how hard he pushes. And they go back and forth. It was very interesting to watch. I actually approved of the police officer to most of what he did, except for finally the auditor, because he refused to open the bag. He dropped it, and he goes, "Does that satisfy your curiosity?" Because he could see a rifle in it. It wasn't heavy enough the way it dropped. All right, you could tell. I mean, a lightweight tripod is not going to drop like even a small rifle.
Right.
You know, so that satisfied the whole thing. It was over with. And I think they went back later and had a conversation without the camera. But anyway, that one always sticks in my mind because that police officer was really pretty good. I mean, he was dedicated to do his job, but he was also dedicated not to step over that line.
Right. And you know, some people may disagree with that type of audit. I know that's more of a First and a Fourth Amendment audit.
Yeah.
But we have to make sure that they're going to abide and not violate people, and make sure they do the right way.
That's kind of a First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Second Amendment, Fifth Amendment.
Right. And I would say most of what we do is mainly First and Fifth for the majority, along with sometimes you'll see Second thrown in there.
Yeah, you see us do the Second Amendment. Most auditors don't do Second Amendment, but we like to down here.
I wouldn't mind doing that, but I feel pretty confident. Usually, you know, Alabama's got it pretty much encased in law for open carry and things like that. So,
yeah.
So, like I said, I grew up walking around.
Well, I'm waiting for constitutional carry here.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want.
Right.
I don't believe in, and then we'll get off this subject, but I don't believe I have to ask anybody for permission to participate in any of my amendments or any of my rights.
Right. Yeah.
All right. And I did put up a video yesterday about
I saw that
in D.C.
Yep.
I didn't do the video, but
Right.
I just didn't have time, and he was more into it than I am, so I stuck him up there, and I got his permission first. But
Yeah.
for what online one, conduct briefly on. All right, 14. For what it's what is the worst the worst audit you've run into, and I have a feeling we can't talk about that one.
No, actually, the worst audit ever, as far as the experience, as far as them doing the wrong thing, was Lockheed, beyond a doubt for me. Some people may think of others, but for me personally, it was Lockheed, the worst, because someone put their hands on me. They were blatantly saying things that were not true. Twice, I was told I was committing a felony. Twice. That's never been said to me. Twice, definitely. Not only was I supposedly breaking the law, they said I did it twice. Twice they told me that. You name it. It was horrible. Not only did they totally ignored putting their hands on me. The other guard that came up there was actual sheriff's deputy. He came up there, and even when he got the knowledge, because apparently all of a sudden he called his headquarters or wherever, found out that I was doing nothing illegal, and then he proceeded to give me some type of lecture and say, "We're going to get the feds down here." Then the idiot, and I'm going to call this guy an idiot. I don't care. He was an idiot. Then he said he's going to get the feds down, but then he said something. I'm like, I retract that. He said an idiotic statement.
I liked it the first way better.
Yeah. He said that, now you want to ask me questions, and you want me to answer your questions. Why don't you answer mine? I was like, I never asked you one question. And then when I said I'm going to remain, we're going to get the feds down. Please do. Please get the feds down here so they can educate your uneducated. But
yeah, well, the problem is we've seen the feds pull the same kind of shit.
True. But yeah,
The FBI has been really shitty about that kind of stuff lately, man.
yeah.
I think they'd learned by now.
I don't get it. I mean, good Lord, the bulletin's been out since 2010. Get a clue.
And we've had several videos before the El Paso one. So you would think that they would figure it out. And then we get the El Paso one, and that went all over the place with, the El Paso with David. And then we went back. And between those videos that we all did, I mean, hundreds of thousands of views. And the feds are looking at, the FBI has seen those. You would think they would send a memo to everybody and say, look, next meeting, make sure everybody knows about this. Keep your damn hands off people, and you got no business being out there screwing with these people.
Yep. Then to bring up another point, like I was saying earlier, did you read that, sir, when I handed him Smith v. Cumming? This was his reply. What do I want to read that for? The law, maybe? Maybe it tells you I have
different variations of that.
Maybe it tells you I have the right to do what I'm doing. I'm trying to educate you. I'm trying to show you proof. And like I said, a lot of times but I'm gonna keep doing it. Maybe, and that shows also, I want to give the perception. I'm not trying to go out there and hang these people. Here's your out. Okay. Read this. Here's your out. Read it and just go along with it. All right. But this guy I'm
actually trying to save your butt.
Exactly. But it's, instead of, then when he finds out it's true or whatever, then proceeding with the lecture. I'm more, call the feds, blah, 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 blah. Is that your vehicle down there 5 foot off the freaking road? When you're standing in the ass end of the road? Saying I'm a hazard? I don't think so, buddy. I'm on a right of way. I'm 5 foot off the daggum road.
Oh, we've seen them where somebody's in the bicycle lane and then the cops got them stopped, and the cops have the whole damn lane blocked. Well, you're on the street. You're impeding traffic. I wasn't impeding anything but you, because you've got the whole damn thing's blocked off here.
Yeah.
With Jack, they had the whole damn road cordoned off. Cop cars across the road, both lanes, and in the ditches, and they tried to say he was impeding traffic. How can you impede something that doesn't exist?
Yep. And I would like to see them give a ticket if there was a church across the street or something. How many times have you seen that? People on the free. How many times have you seen people protesting? Where do they protest? On the right of way.
Yeah. Yep.
You have every right to park there.
Well, in that part of town where Jack was at, there is no jaywalking offense in that part of town. The jaywalking ordinance is for only downtown.
Oh.
And it's miles away from where he was.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
All right. And the nearest crosswalk I drove it, and it was close to 1,000 yards away, I think it was, if my memory serves me. At least several hundred, but I think it was close to 1,000 yards away. And where he did cross, he crossed where there was a driveway. All right, there's no sidewalk on the side he was, and he was at a driveway, and on the other side is a sidewalk. So he crossed it's basically an intersection there because of that outlet, Right. It was just so full of crap. And of course they got dropped later, but he still had to go to court and all that over it.
Goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You look at us that do this by the law, that don't, that we don't break the law. We abide by the law. And here we go. The use color law, bring up charges, and again, charges always dismissed, charges dropped.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's move on to the next one now.